Hey, everybody, and we are live. This is the check in with my good friend Charlie Red, should be joining us here shortly. I want to make sure that I send out the invites to ensure that we've got everybody on that's going to be joining us. We've got a special guest that's going to be joining us today. But this is our Facebook Live chat, as I like to call it, podcast, if you want to call it, that we do once a month, every first Saturday of the month. And so we are live today. And again, it should be a really, really, really good conversation today. I don't want to go too far into it, but again, I decided to go ahead and start the live, and I know that Charlie should be joining us. As a matter of fact, there is our good friend Charlie Red.
Hey, hey.
Well, hey, brother, I see you.
I see you too.
Yes, indeed. How about that? I even adjusted the camera. Hopefully, it'll make some sense today.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. So I say all of that to say, brother, again, I was saying, although we just are getting started, this is our check-in with our monthly Facebook chat that Charlie and I like to have. Strangely enough, we talk about an hour before we started here, so there you go. We just kind of talk at random, but again, this was an opportunity for us to be able to not just talk with one another, but to be able to have conversations with each of you. We do cover a myriad of topics, and specifically for this month, we're going to talk about what's important in a relationship. Honesty, trust, or love, I believe, are the three topics that we're going to cover. Chuck, just as a heads up to you, one of our special guests reached out and said that they will be joining us, Brother Pratt. So I have sent him the invite, and hopefully he's gotten it and he's paying attention, and he will be joining us. So I just want to see if he has joined as of yet. I see a couple people watching, so hopefully he's one of the two of them. Anyhow, so that being said, brother, you excited about this month's pod? Because we've got special stuff coming up next month. It's just you by yourself. But are you excited about this month?
I'm excited about every month. To make it very simple, yeah, I'm excited about every month. I'm excited about every day. So
Well,
it's
amen.
just an opportunity. Again, we had our warm-up
Yes,
conversation,
yes,
already
yes,
this morning. So this is
yes,
just an extension of that, although we talked about a different topic.
yes,
This is just an extension of this our continuous conversation.
absolutely. Now, with that being said, I'm going to have you slightly adjust your camera, bring it down slightly. You have an awful lot up above you. There you go. Perfect. Perfecto. And once Pratt gets on here, I'll probably make some adjustments because it'll be the three of us. But he said he's excited about joining too. And I see that somebody is watching, so I'm hoping that I think that's him. Let's see if we can add him. Let's
Yeah.
see. See if we can get Brother Pratt up here. And let's
Get
see
him
if it's
on, get
working.
him on.
Yes, indeed. It says it's adding them, so I'm hoping it's working. In the meanwhile, while we're waiting for this to actually come on, let's see. Let me try it again here. Let's see what it needs to do. It's saying that it's, uh-oh. It's saying you declined it, Brother Pratt. We're going to try it again. Let's try you one more time, brother. Up, there we go. It's doing something, Pratt. It's
See?
trying to do something. Oh, Pratt, do me a favor. Put yourself on mute. Oh, might be some technical issues, brother. I tell you what, Anthony, I'm gonna send it to you again, and then just accept it. I'm gonna remove you and send it again. And this, my friends, is why we do this early. All right, let me try one more time here. See if I can send it to him one more time. All right, again here. And people really wonder why I join these things early, is to get past this technical stuff. And so hopefully it's early enough that people won't sit and say, my God, what is the problem that they're having? Blah, 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 blah. So, all right. Well, while we're sitting and waiting, Okay, Anthony, I know you have joined because I can hear something in the background, but we can't see you. It says it's joining. Uh-oh. Okay. I mean, it's saying that it's joining, so I'm not sure, Brad. Okay, Anthony, I hate to do this to you, brother. I'm gonna remove you again. Okay. If push comes to shove, Pratt, I promise you I'll have you back on next month. Or maybe even the month after that. I apologize. We just got to figure out what's going on. I know his camera's working because I called him before I called you here. So why don't we go ahead and jump into it, brother? Again, what's more important in a relationship? I know that that is subjective to people. And I'm really going to be curious to see what people actually say, the feedback that we actually get in the messaging today. But brother, if I start with you, what would you say is more important for you? Let's say.
And as we develop, the topics, etc., I've given a lot of thought to them. Um, and this one in particular. Um, and what I would pretty much came up with while I was blowing the leaves this morning was I wouldn't, it's, unless you kind of put me on the spot to say one or the other, like our
Mm-hmm.
conversations earlier about which is better. Is Noggles better than Del Taco? Is Del Taco better than Taco Bell? Which is actually better? So for me, I guess I'm gonna take a cop out.
Okay.
I think all three are equally as important, but really for me, what it really determines the impact is how consistent you are with either one. So are you more consistent with, love? Are you more consistent with trust? And so for me, it's really the consistency that I take all three of them and morph them into one. And I had to take a deep dive, and I really think it's which one am I more consistent with or consistent at demonstrating that becomes the more important. Because as life, things kind of ebb and flow, they free flow. And so you look at love. Well, love is an emotion. That's something that we use to describe how we feel about somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not always in love with that person. We may consistently love them, and we show that demonstration of love through our various actions. But we're not always just having the heart pounding, palpitations. So again, going back to for me, it's really the consistency and which one I actually demonstrate consistently.
Okay. So in layman's terms, you used all your education to explain that, brother. I mean, I have a degree in things, but Anthony, I don't know why, but it's not allowing your camera to come on. So I don't know if we're going to be able to bring you up because it's not allowing your camera to come on. Yeah, I don't know. It's a technical something, Anthony. I apologize for that. Okay. So with that being said, again, layman's terms, it's a hodgepodge. He's asking to join, so let's see if that works. Give me a second, Chuck. Let's see if that works. Let's see if that's going to work this time. I think it's just something going on because I know he's using his phone or at least I hope he's using his phone. So
yes.
Okay, I'm gonna let it add and see what happens, and we'll just kind of go from there. But it's a hodgepodge, and I think for me it's the same thing. I can't quantify it as being one over the other because obviously, well, let me take that back. I can. Honesty, trust, love. All of those are equally as important, so I would agree with you on that. But if I had to kind of line them up, if I had to kind of put them in order, I need you to be honest with me. Honesty is crucial for me because it allows me to be able to make up my mind whether or not I want to deal with you or not. You can't make up my mind for me. But if you're being honest, um, that to me is how I decide whether or not I want to continue having a relationship with you. And the honesty and you being honest will enable me to be able to trust you because trust is earned. It gets to a point to me where you give people your trust at face value, and that's cool. But at some point, you do something and it could be the slightest thing or the largest thing, and you lose it. It's hard to gain it back, let alone to retain it. It's a work. So again, if you're honest with me, then I can trust you, or grow to trust you, and that to me can morph into love. So if I had to do a 1, 2, 3, in that case, I could, but all three of them are relevant and all three of them are very important because to me that's what equates the relationship.
Okay. So I mean, so again, just for the sake of this conversation,
Yeah, okay.
just like I shared earlier,
Mhm.
again, other topics have been brought up.
Mhm.
Like food is food, but you asked what's the most important? Would it be an In-N-Out burger? Would it be a Papa burger from Baker's, or would it be the quarter pounder with cheese? And so
That is not what I
uh,
said. Hold on. Wait, wait,
I know, but I
wait.
just had to throw the quarter pounder with cheese in there
Doggone it.
because they
Okay.
make them fresh
All
now.
right.
But anyway,
Okay.
I'm saying if you're making us, for the sake of this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
rank them. Again, I try to take the easy way out and say that depending on how you demonstrate them consistently,
Mm-hmm.
going back to the part about trust, because we all know that it can take a lifetime to develop trust. It could take 5 minutes or 5 seconds to destroy it.
Absolutely.
Um, and trust kind of undergirds loyalty. Trust undergirds love. It does. But I could still be in love with you and not trust you. That is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
are we, for the sake of this conversation, are we going to go, are we going to challenge ourselves and make ourselves um, rank which one and then defend it?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we just going to talk about it? What do you want to do?
Well,
I'm
I'll
wide
be
open.
honest with you. Again, to me, I go back to it being subjective. What's important to me is not important to you. You know what I mean? So ultimately, I don't need to defend the how I feel, the what I feel.
Okay.
It's for me. It's my feelings. Someone can't force that upon me or this or that or da 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 da. So for me, it's I don't have to defend why I love or as hard as I love or you've known me a very long time. The fact that I am a big proponent of something for nothing. I enjoy pleasing. I want to please someone. It pleases me to please someone.
Okay.
I don't want to have to defend the why I'm that way. It's just it is.
Mm-hmm.
This is how it was built. If you if you got a problem with it, take it up with the Lord. It ain't got nothing to do with me, because this is how He created me to be. So again, I don't think it's necessary to say, okay, well, why do you feel that way and have to kind of defend or explain it? It's just how I am as an individual. And I understand that we as individuals are different. How I feel is different than how Will feels. How he loves me is different than how I love him. But ultimately, the love is there. So again, if we ranked it, we could, and as again, I've already kind of given my ranking if I
Mm-hmm.
had to,
Mm-hmm.
but for me to then defend it, I don't think it's necessary per se. But I'm just curious your thoughts. What would you prefer to do in that case?
Again, like, because they all do piggyback or complement one another. Um, I tend to stay away from the ranking. Then, and it goes back to what you said. Every individual, it's going to be different for them, and every individual makes a choice. And so that's where the real everything kind of boils down to
Mm-hmm.
choice.
Mm-hmm.
And some things you don't really choose. It's just the way that it is. It actually has
Right.
chosen you, especially with respect to love. It's kind of hard to really choose. Now you can either choose to, further let yourself be vulnerable and engage in that, but you just can't help feeling the way that you feel.
True.
Um, and again, a lot of things kind of, complement one another and confirm one another. And so, why would I choose the burger from In-N-Out? It's because it brings back an old nostalgic memory of a time that actually made me feel real good about the circumstance at the time.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
you know, that's where, going back to what you said, it's really an individual choice, and everybody's choices are going to be different. And
Yes.
that's why, again, opening this up to other people to find out how they feel is going to be very, very important as well, because everybody has a different perspective on each one.
Hmm. Hmm.
But again, trust, that's like the foundation. That's the tires on the car. Um, and if you don't have trust, just like if you have bad tires, you may go a little bit, but you're not going to be able to go very far. And even as you go very far, there's always that possibility that you may have a flat, and then
Hmm.
you're stuck.
Hmm.
So that's where, again, trust for me is very, very important. But I was told something a long time ago, even about friendship. If you want friends, you have to prove yourself to be friendly.
Absolutely.
So if you want trust, you yourself have to be the trustworthy person. And
Hmm.
what does that look like?
For who?
What does that look
Yeah,
like?
but for who?
What does that look like to you?
Well, but again, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, but that's where you and I are different because again, I lead with honesty.
Mhm.
So in in meeting you in 1976, I think that if we had conversations that because we were young, were somewhat honest. We didn't know how to not be honest. We spoke first thought as kids. So for me, that's what's slightly different in this conversation.
Okay.
I know that me being honest or having honesty is important. Trust is something that will be gained along the road. Depends on if I want you in my circle, if I don't, or there's a lot of things. Superficial relationships don't require me to have a great deal of trust per se. So as you're asking the question, I think that's where I'm kind of leaning towards like, well, trust is what it is. It just depends upon the relationship. You would hope that people trust you or are trustful, but that's not always the case. It depends upon the relationship. But in relationship, and we're talking, I think for this topic, we're talking whether it be marriage or dating or something that's, lifelong friendship, whatever that is, versus something that's, surface level.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like trust is something that's automatic until you lose it. Everybody comes into a relationship with me with a certain level of trust. I trust you to a fault until you show something differently. But being honest, if you come to me lying, we're not even going to get to the trust part. If you step into this relationship and you automatically lead with, the sky is green,
Mhm.
and you swear up and down is green, and the pool is purple, if you come into the relationship line, we're not even going to get to trust.
But wouldn't it also be contingent upon your believability? Um, I mean, again, if you say, and we're in this
Mm,
political environment right now where we
mm,
have just opposing ideas and concepts, but
mm,
if you say that the sky is green,
mm,
but I trust you,
mm.
I begin to believe the sky is green just because you said it. Not necessarily means that it's true, but because you said it, I believe it. I believe
It,
you're being honest.
right. I think the problem I'm talking about beginning
Hmm.
relationships. I mean, don't get me wrong, because there has to be a starting point.
It does.
So at the starting point, if you come in telling me, well, the sky is green, the earth is flat, you know, the pool is purple. No, it's not. Okay, I don't think I want to have any dealings with you. So therefore, trust isn't even on the table.
Okay.
You it's really about how you're coming in and whether or not you're being honest about what you're saying. We haven't even talked about being genuine because there's honesty and then there's being genuine, and to me those are hand in hand as well.
They are.
But again, since that's not, I mean, we can bring it in, but right. But so that's the difference for me. Just because you say so doesn't mean it's so. Just because you say it's green doesn't mean it's so.
Is
So yeah,
is
I don't
that is
know.
that is that is that perceptions, or is that also influenced by life experiences too?
Both. Absolutely. Absolutely both. Just because you
And
say, I've known you forever, but that don't mean that you're right. And if
yes.
you're truly my friend, and you, in this case, my brother, I can say that to you, and you wouldn't be upset.
No.
And that's, to me, that's important in relationship too. If by chance you have been honest with me, again, it's my breakdown. If you've been honest and I'm able to trust you, and there's a love for you, I want to be able to say that the things you tell me, I'm going to believe, obviously, because we have a history there. So I have a reason I don't have any reasons not to. You haven't demonstrated any reason for me not to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, with this relationship, or if you and I were married, God heaven forbid, but if we had been married, after all this period of time, I would hope that you would be able to come to me and say certain things to me in this relationship, and I'm going to take it as gospel because you don't have a reason to hurt me. You don't have a reason to lie to me. You know me, and I know that you love me. You're doing it for my betterment. You're going to tell me the truth. So for that, I would hope, period of time, there's a lot of things been built up. Honesty has really been built up. The trust has been built up. The love continues to grow stronger, that I can trust everything you're telling me. I don't have to worry about you lying to me. I don't have to worry about any of that because we've been here, we've been doing it, we've been rocking a long time.
And that's why I started out by saying if we took a look at all three
Yes.
of the legs on this three-headed stool,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's being consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
not just one, but all three.
Yes.
And just, to kind of give, a shout out, give credit where credit's due. There was a gentleman I used to work with at DFAX.
Mm-hmm.
I used to call him Dr. Chu. His name was Mr. Chu, but
Mm-hmm.
he was so wise, I called him Dr. Chu.
Mm-hmm.
And he came up with he coined a phrase, the index of believability.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I like that.
And when we used to have conversations, he would talk about how the index of believability, what makes one person believable over another.
Yes.
And he would talk about that. And so those things are also influenced by, again, past experiences, present experiences, and also society's perception of things. So those things are actually influenced. And so you can say something to me, and we'll say person B says something to me, but your index of believability is much higher with me. I'm more likely to believe what you say, to trust what you say, know that you're being honest, know that the love is there because of the history.
Yes.
In 40 some odd years, 50 years, there has never been reason for me to doubt that.
Absolutely.
And that span of 50 years where a person has been honest with you, you've built up capital.
Yes. Yes.
And so therefore your index of believability is going to be much higher than maybe, for example, Sally, who I just met, last week.
Absolutely. My dad used to talk about track record. And to me, track record is very important.
Wise man.
He used to say that in relation to my brother. Shout out to my brother Dane, just in case you watch this. But he knows that Dad used to say, but what is your track record? There's something that speaks volumes to that. This is what I know you. It's almost like your CV, like your resume of your life, or the relationship or what I've known of you. And I think it's very, very important that if your track record is not good, it's a little shaky. So you talk about believability. Well, what's your track record? What do I know you for? What have I seen you do? How have you moved and shaped? Yeah.
How consistent have you been?
Well, I'm all about consistency. So yeah, yeah. So interesting. So you wouldn't say that one outweighs the other of the three, because there's so many other things that are interwoven in there. But you wouldn't suggest that one outweighs the other, or you wouldn't necessarily, because you said you lead with trust. That would be what's more important to you is trust.
Yes.
Okay.
I say one leads into the other.
Yes.
And ultimately, without trust, without loyalty, without some of the other things, it would be very difficult to have love. Now, is it impossible? No. Somebody can start out pretty much again with that emotion, that just raw feeling. They just, that's how they feel about a person or a situation or person in that situation. But over a period of time, those other things actually undergird what either makes love stronger
Mm-hmm.
or gives you love with question. I
Yeah.
love you, but I'm really questioning now. But in my question, I might not tell you that. I might not tell you that
Yeah.
I'm actually questioning.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm really saying is that your index of believability has dropped a little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So everything you tell me, I'm running it through a fact checker.
That's a shame. But that's a choice you have to make to decide whether or not you want to have any dealings with this person anyway. But imagine being married to that. I don't want to be married to that. I don't want to date that. I don't want to have to always second guess what it is that you're telling me. Therein lies the trust. I don't trust you, obviously. Again, what's your track record? If you came in, if you started in lying, and shout out to my ex-husband, Stephen Jackson, who will tell you that I told a fib from early on. I told him that I was already 18 when I met him, and I was 17, get ready to be 18. We were doomed from the start. So there you go. But again, it's a point of, those are things that you have to ask yourself. Those are things that you really have to decide, how important is that for you, to you. And for me, honesty is important. Honesty is king for me, because that to me leads to me trusting you. If I can't trust the things that are coming out of your mouth because you're not being honest, I'm not going to trust you as an individual. And I want to have limited dealings with you. But again, that's a tiny thing. So,
But I mean, you say it's a tiny thing, but I think that's anybody watching this, or anybody just living in general, it's their thing. And you started that by this, the top of the conversation by saying it's individualistic. What may be important to you might not be as important to me, or vice versa.
Absolutely.
And that's okay. And that's okay. But yeah, I think at the end of all that is love. But can you also, again, go back to it, can you still have love if you don't trust somebody? Yes, you can.
But again, I ask myself, what kind of love is that? Is it superficial? Is it surface? I mean, is there such a thing as surface level love? Is there? Okay. How would you explain that? How would you define that?
I believe
without giving an example?
I would call superficial or surface love as love where you're giving me something that I want.
Okay.
And I quantify it or qualify it by calling it love. So whether it is that you're, helping me to increase my self-esteem, whether I'm down and out, I might be ill, and you're actually supporting me and going through my health challenges, love. Whether, again, just the feeling that I get from that interaction is love. But it can be superficial, because the moment you no longer give it to me, guess what? I'm not going to tell you, but I don't love you either.
Yeah. Well, then I guess my thought was, well, you have to love yourself in order to be able to love. And so therefore, if that is how you move, is to say, hey, listen, I'm only in this for what's in it for me. I only want this relationship, or if we even call it that, situationship, whatever you want to call it, blah, 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 ship, for whatever it does for me. We have our sister Mercedes Bailey saying that trust and honesty can go hand in hand.
Yeah, I was going to give a shout out to Mercedes. Yeah, just a wonderful individual. Again, just through and through. And then again, when I met her around work. But she came in. She was one of the people who had to come in and audit, and so sometimes they had to tell you some information that wasn't so pleasant.
Yes.
But she was honest. She was honest. So with that honesty, because we all have blind spots, with that honesty, then gain the trust. And also gain the love. And again, I cared about her opinion. And so that's why I'm saying that, yes, all these things go hand in hand, but certain things kind of undergird the other.
Well, and I'm glad that she said that, actually, because again, trust and honesty, they're definitely woven. But for me, it comes down to, is there one that's, for me, one is a little bit higher, slightly higher, because I know that it leads to it. So again, just me thinking relational, in my case, being married, da 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 da. What was important? Okay, meeting you, you being pleasant, pleasantries to the side. What's coming out of your mouth? Again, are you telling me that, you are a bazillionaire or a gazillionaire? Again, what's the purpose of that? It makes no sense to me. But if by chance you're coming in and saying, hey, listen, I humbly come to you saying, yada, da, 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 I have a tendency to want to believe that it's a lot more believable than you coming off as, I am a bazillionaire, blah, 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 whatever that is. Looks like I've got something going on down here. Okay. I just want to make sure I was following along with the people that are looking. And so let's take a moment, if we could. This is the check-in. This is Charlie and I's monthly Facebook chat. We do a Facebook live chat every month, every first Saturday of the month at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. for our Pacific Coasters. We talk about a myriad of things during the check-in. We have guests that join us. Anthony, I know you're still in the room, brother. I don't know what's going on, and I can try one more time just for the sake of you being here to see if I can invite you to join. Let's see. Okay. You may only be able to join with audio only, Pratt. You may not be able to turn your camera on. So if you can join with your audio, please do that, because we definitely want to have your interaction, and we're glad that you're here. Hey, Ray and DeRay Torres, we see you out there. Hey there. How are y'all doing this morning? I believe y'all in Chicago, aren't you? Something like that. So
You
some
took
of
the
our
words
love.
that you took the words right out of my mouth. I was gonna say the same thing. Hey, Ray to Ray, because
Absolutely. Absolutely.
the two
Pratt,
are
it
one.
says, Pratt, it says you keep declining the invite. So that might be why you're having some problem. You keep declining the invite. So we'll see if it enables you to be able to come back or not. So okay. So with that being said, oh, okay, great. DeRay's like, yes, we are in Chicago. I promise you we pay attention. Look, we like to know where our loved ones are at. So again, it's good to see y'all this morning. And please join us in the conversation. Really appreciate everyone just kind of jumping in, chatting with us. We definitely want to make sure that it's very interactive. So again, thank you for everybody that's joined us. Chuck, I don't know. I think that maybe we could talk about friendship versus maybe dating versus marriage, because those to me are different. Oh, right. Okay, Anthony, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Oh, you can hear us?
Yes.
Okay,
I
so
can see,
Brad,
I can see your video too.
say it again.
I can hear and see your
Okay.
video.
Okay, do me a favor, Anthony. If you do you have a speaker or something that you're talking into?
No, I'm just using my phone.
Okay, I'm wondering if maybe you could literally talk like you're
Same.
holding the phone up to your ear and talk. Because there's a lot of background noise.
Yeah, I don't know why there's a lot of that.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure why it's doing that, Fred. Like I said, you and I may have to figure that out offline, and then have you come back and join us probably next month, brother, because there's a lot of reverb in the background of the vocals. Okay, brother, let me bring you back.
Okay.
Okay, all right, brother, love you. All right, so what's Ray up here talking about?
I think DeRay said she wants to join because she said one's listening and one's cutting the lawn. So I can only assume that she's the one listening and he's the one cutting the lawn. It's just an
Okay,
assumption.
now DeRay. Okay, doggone it. I'm gonna add you, DeRay. That's hilarious. Poor Ray. Ray sitting out there mowing the grass on that Chicago heat. I just sent you an invite. Hey, DeRay.
Okay, I look pretty bad because Raymond and me just got done with the walk, but I heard you talking. I'm like, ooh, I gotta join.
How are you, sister? So good to see you.
I am very blessed. How about you guys?
Amen. Amen.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Charlotte and I are blessed beyond measure. So, and we love the fact that you've jumped on. We've seen you jump on quite a few times in the past couple of months.
I
So thank you for
have.
jumping on. So,
Well,
so tell us what you think, sister. So our topic, go ahead, Chuck.
no,
Go ahead, brother.
no, Tanya, you and I are right on point.
Okay.
And that's why I'm glad she wanted to join because their relationship goes back to junior high school. So I
My
think,
God.
Oh, yeah.
so I think before we were about to go into it, I think you brought up, brought up the subject, which is more important, whether in a friendship or relationship, dating, etc. So it was perfect that she joined. So bless you, DeRay. Bless you, bless you, bless
You know
you.
what?
Thank-
We
So
want
ask
your
the
input.
question.
What's
No,
my
no,
Please
take?
we
ask
want
the
your
question
input.
to her.
So based upon the topic today, DeRay, and you've obviously heard us talking, you know what it is. What would you say is more important in relationship? And again, it could be friendship, it could be when you're dating, you all have been married a very long time. What would you say is more important? And the three that we've chosen to talk about are honesty, trust, and love. So how would you, or what would you say? What would you impart?
I would say they're important at different times. So every day I make the decision to love Raymond. Come heck or high water, he makes a decision to love me. I always remember that because that's what the priest said during um, our marriage vows, when we got married. And so sometimes I don't necessarily like him and he doesn't necessarily like me. Sometimes I break his trust with something small, he does mine as well. So I think for me, the foundation of love, and choosing to uh, be in love every day, you have peaks and valleys in your marriage. So during your peaks, your trust, your love, your friendship, everything may be at its highest. During your valleys, if I don't have, for me, if I don't have that foundation of love, you can't forgive, you can't move on. We've been married 36 years now.
Absolutely.
And we still look good, but we've been married 36 years. And I just love seeing you two. I just got to tell you guys,
Oh,
like, when you talked about, right, you eat something, you hear something, it brings you back. Looking at you two brings us back to a very happy time. Raymond said, well, if you're going to jump on, you better make sure that you're somewhere nice. but, yeah, so, for me, it's all three, but they come in waves, right? They come in waves, just like our life comes in waves. you know um I trust no matter what happens, he's always going to be there. I trust my boys are always going to be there, right? They may not always make me happy and I may not always like them, but at the end of the day, I trust them, and
absolutely.
with blessings, we'll be together 36 more years and
Mhm.
our boys will develop healthy, loving relationships as well. So I think for us, I think I could speak for him on this too. It comes in waves. It
Mhm.
comes in waves.
Mhm. So you wouldn't say that one is more important than the other.
I'd say for me, it's probably love,
Okay.
because
Okay.
every day I make the decision to love him, and depending on what that day comes out to be, you know.
That's
Well,
fair.
I'm glad you said that because again, as Tanya talked about in the top of the conversation, it's going to be different for everyone.
Mhm.
So, DeRay, when you came on and you pretty much said, depending on the time and the stages,
Mhm.
you did a very good job at articulating that. So you took the conversation even deeper. But even as you talk about you and you talk about, Ray, your husband, um, we ours was friendship. So my just again male on male friendship, but it was deep because it was consistent. So Ray's always been there for me. It's been a consistent. We've never had any issues or nothing. We pretty much have just kind of just went through life in our formative years all together. And we were competitors at one point. We were teammates at another point, but it's always been consistent. And so how I see him today and how I see you today is the same way I saw you back in 1984.
Yeah, that would be for me too. You
Mhm.
guys, like I told you before, it brings up happy times for Raymond too
Mhm.
when he sees you guys. Brings up happy times.
Now, Bobby Sanchez, we're not going to add him in that. My Lord, I tell you what, I can't believe it's funny you said you guys been married for 36 years. We go back to 1981, the three of us.
Hmm.
1981. It's like what? What? Oh my gosh! And Charlie and I go back even further, but just the three of us coming into Frisbee Junior High, and just getting an opportunity to be around one another for the next 5, 6 years. I mean, that's good stuff. Good stuff. And so when you talk about again, go ahead, Chuck. Go ahead.
And no, you're and I don't mean to cut you off, but I just
Mhm.
want to not glance over this. But she also mentioned going back to even my belief in terms of choice. So every day she chooses to love him.
Hmm.
That is so profound because that's the one thing that we, all of us, have a semblance that we like to maintain control over. And that one control is actually the ability to choose.
You know, if we didn't choose to love each other every day, we might not have made it 36 years.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so I'm going to tell you blessings to Father Miguel Uria,
Mm-hmm.
because he is always at the base of our marriage as well. You know, he married us. We've kept in touch with him. He prays for us. He did my father's funeral. He baptized my boys. We went home, and so that's the foundation for us too. And, that doesn't mean that, now I'm getting a little religious, but, my
No.
faith,
Faith. No.
my
Yes.
faith is very important
Yes.
in our marriage, right?
Yes.
Sometimes we fall in and out of that, you know, it's right. Sometimes we draw away from it, but then we have those who bring us back, you know. So, like I said, so if I didn't make that decision every day, him as well, if he didn't make that decision every day, might not have made 36 years.
Mm-hmm.
We got married at 19. We got married right out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
We sort of, now everybody's going to know, but we sort of snuck away to Vegas, got married. And then a year later, while we were planning our church wedding, we solidified through the church.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we dated off and on, like you guys said, in high school and junior high, not until our senior year was it, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to go for this or not? So.
And I got to give Mercedes a shout out because she just confirmed what I said, that you can actually love without honesty or trust.
Mm-hmm. And I see that Mercedes had said that. So yeah, that's good stuff. DeRay, I think that again, because of the fact that we've known you, and there are people that are going to watch this that either remember you, just like they remember us, and or like Tammy just joined. Tammy's
Hey,
watching.
Tammy.
Hey, Sister Tam. She's watching us all the way from Washington State. We love you, sister. You and Brother Howard. But again, there's going to be people that come in. They're going to watch. And they're going to want to know, what's kind of been the thing that's kept the two of you together. Again, we've known you dating back at Frisbee. So we're not surprised by the fact that you're being married this long. Okay. But we knew that you all dated that far back. What would you say? And you said your faith. So
Yep.
I definitely am a proponent of that. Both Charlie and I are Christians, so we're proponents of that. But what has been the one thing, if you could say one thing that has really kept you going, that has kept you from not wanting, other than being your faith saying we're not going to divorce? What's been the thing that continues to allow you to keep trying every day? Because like you said, you make a decision to love him every day. But what keeps you wanting to try? Because at a certain point, again, if you don't have honesty, if that's again something that comes and goes, you don't have trust, it comes and goes. Love sometimes, it flails around. What kind is the thing that kind of keeps you wanting to try? Because you have to want to try, keep trying at
Yeah.
this.
I think probably after this long, what keeps us going is that I know at the end of the day, probably nobody else is going to have my back like him.
Absolutely.
And he knows that as well. Now, that doesn't mean in times that he may not have had, and I may not have had his. But again, to me, I still go back to love, right? It's that decision to love him every day and the commitment we made. So I can't take away the faith from it because it's bound in that, right? It's the decision, and there's been some valleys, And there's been some great peaks. So it's the decision every day to love him,
Yeah.
for him to love me. And I can't separate the love and the faith
Mm-hmm.
and market anything else,
Okay.
you know.
It's fair. What about you, Joe? What do you think? What do you think is kind of the thing that makes you want to keep trying? You know, because really, especially marriage, let's just say, let's because all of us are married. It's not easy. It's marriage is a hard job. It's one of next to having children for women. This is the hardest job we're ever going to have. It
Mhm.
really is. One of the most difficult things we're ever going to do. Why do I keep wanting to try this? For what? What's the reason?
Well, I can't speak and thank you very much for kind of pigeonholing me by with the children piece, because that's something that I never wanted to do, and B was not biologically made to do.
You're welcome.
So I
You're
take my
welcome.
hat off,
You're
or
welcome.
what little hair I got, I take it off to you who've done it. And also if you've done it multiple times. Woo! But again, that's for another pod.
Shout out to motherhood.
Yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
I make sure my kids every birthday they have, that's really their Mother's Day because of the sacrifice. Again, I was able to witness that. So I that's another story. But anyway, again, it goes back to what DeRay said. It's really a choice, and that choice could be influenced by faith. It could be influenced by just again a lot of things. It could be influenced by history, that maybe you went through a period and that person was the person who had your back.
Mm-hmm.
And again, sometimes that's shaken because you can go through things and you don't feel that the person does have your back. So it kind of shakes the foundation a little bit. But shout out to CCH, Cheryl Cobb Henry. I know she joined us. But again, it ebb and flows. And you said something too, Tanya. Again, I don't want to glaze over it. In any relationship, whether it's a friendship, a romantic relationship, it takes work. And it takes work every single day. You can't take a day off.
Well, let's use you and I as an example. DeRay, again, I know that we've known you since Frisbee. Charlie and I have known each other since elementary. And in my case, the first day at the elementary school, so since second grade. For you and I, it's even a work for you and I. You would think that it's easy. I think we give each other a lot of grace.
Grace.
And again, that's because of our faith. Our relationship is still rooted in faith. So, us being believers, Jesus obviously is in the middle of this relationship, or else it wouldn't have lasted this long. But again, we extend each other grace, but it's still a work. We've not always seen eye to eye. We have difference of opinion because we are two different people, but there's still the love there because we're able to extend grace. I trust Charlie immensely. I trust him more than the average, obviously, but immensely. He's my kid's godfather. How do I not trust this man? If I trust you with one of my most precious gifts, which would be my children, and the other being my husband, how could I not? So I definitely trust you. I know you've been honest in the things you've said to me. I can appreciate that because, as I said early on in the pod, it allows me to decipher whether or not I want to have any interactions with you. So there to me and lies the love. The love has grown from that. It has stemmed from those two things. You've been honest. I've been able to trust you. And for that, I'm able to love you as Christ loves the church. So there you go. That's my 3 cents. Now, can I stop for a second? I want to acknowledge some people that we have that are in our chat. We mentioned our sister Tammy Forrest Smith. We love you dearly. Our sister Chris Turpin, Chris Norris, as we call her. Miss Chris Norris, we love you, sis. Our sister Mia Johnson Hemingway, we see that you're joined us too. Chris mentioned in the chat, if they have a true love for Jesus, then everything else is a moot point. And that's my 2 cents. Come on, Chris. Again, somebody we've known since Morgan. So there you go. Absolutely. Okay. So DeRay, that's marriage. Think one of your very good friends, long-lasting friends, it doesn't have to be somebody that we know,
Mhm.
would you say that you feel the same way about that relationship with respect to what's important, trust, honesty, love? Now, this is just friendship. And let's say you and a girlfriend or you and a guy, however you want to kind of describe it.
Uh, I would say that it would be love as well. Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
that's fair. Chuck, what about you? I feel like I know your answer, but I want to hear it come from you.
For me, it's all the same.
Okay.
Um,
So
there's
it doesn't matter if it's marriage, it doesn't matter if it's
no,
dating, it doesn't matter. Okay.
no.
Okay.
For me, it really doesn't matter. Um, I think the level of
Mm-hmm.
intimacy, if you want to break it down, physical intimacy versus spiritual intimacy, but other than that, it's the same.
Okay.
How about you?
No, I would say the same as well. I wasn't sure. Again, we're individuals, and that's why I asked the question. Um, how I feel my stance is across the board. Let's use Tammy because all of us know Tammy as an example. Again, we met Tammy at Morgan. Da 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 da. Really established a great relationship with her. She led being honest. This woman would speak her first thought, and I appreciated her speaking her first thought. But she was also mindful along the road. She's always been a friend, true through and through. She's someone that I know that I could depend upon over a long period of time, or through today, right? So again, for me, and I'm sure you all would say the same thing, Tammy is genuine. This is not the Tammy show if anybody's going to be watching this. Howard, if you see this, we love you too, brother, as her husband. But anyway, we're talking about our sister Tam right now. But she's been honest. She's been she's extended a lot of grace. I can tell you that for a fact. I've seen her extend a lot of grace early on, where she could have acted one way, but she didn't. You know what I mean? Um, so I think that all of us would have the same conversation about Tammy. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Unless DeRay, you feel any differently, probably not. Chuck, if you feel any differently, probably not. She's pretty solid. She's a good one, as I like to call it. Okay, fair enough. Our sister Larry Duncan has, I'm sorry, brother Larry Duncan has joined us. Hey, brother, we good to see you. Appreciate you joining as well. Okay, so since it doesn't really matter whether it's marriage or dating or friendship, the bottom line is the things that are important in relationship, and there's other things that obviously are woven into that. But for our conversation, so trust and honesty and love, it doesn't matter what the relationship is. Those things are important irregardless.
Yeah.
Now, would you say those are things that are engraved within you? This is how you walk your walk every day, that anyone that I interact with, they have to present these things in order for me to be, well, love is again, further down the road. But would you say as an individual, this is who I am. So when I meet someone, I'm going to make sure that I'm honest with them, that I'm going to be a trustworthy individual, as you talked about, Chuck, and that I'm going to display love with everyone that I interact with. Would you say that about yourself? Dre, I will
Go
start
ahead,
with
Dre.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Start with me.
yeah.
Okay, the newbie. Okay.
Well, it's ladies first, Dre. Ladies first.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what? It depends on the relationship, right? I go
Mm-hmm.
into every relationship. I have my work relationships. I'm a
Yeah.
nurse.
Yes.
So now I'm a nursing leader. There has to be trust there with
Yeah.
the physician, with my coworkers, right? So two of my good friends that you just asked me, my friendships, they started out as working relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
My Lisa and my Brandy, they live in different states, but those are two people who started as friends that became people that I truly love as friends, right? So I
Absolutely.
think every relationship is different. And when we talk about that too, people are in your lives for different seasons, right? So they're there for a reason, and then they may stay for the long haul, or they may have come, helped you through whatever you needed, or you helped them through whatever they needed, and then have moved on, right?
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that you don't love them any less, you love them
Mm-hmm.
in a different way. But I think it depends on the relationship, whether it's, the physicians I work with, I trust them, right? The people I work with, I trust them. Some of the leaders that are under me, we develop trust with each other, right?
Mhm.
But, some of them, they're younger than me, of course. I love them in a different way, right? I want to see them happy inside and outside of work. So it just depends. Our next door neighbor, you know, um, he is an older man, and unfortunately, his wife has passed on. So
Mhm.
Raymond and us and the kids love him in a different way.
Yeah.
Stan's a man that has come to be part of an extended part of us.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. That's good stuff. Our sister Mercedes in the chat said reasons, seasons, or a lifetime. I love it.
Yep.
I love it. Absolutely. Chuck, what do you have, brother? What do you think?
I think I said enough for today. But the one thing that I haven't said that I would just add to it, because this also seems to be, a theme,
Mhm.
whether it be Chris jumping on, Mercedes, Cheryl Cobb, Henry, etc. I think that the people that we attract is because we ourselves are good people, are trying to be good
Absolutely.
people consciously and even sometimes subconsciously. And so we attract those people to us. And that's why
Absolutely.
it just gets expansive and more expansive and more expansive and more expansive. So whoever we talked about, I bet if we were to, turn this into a, I don't know, a Facebook Live with 300 or 400,000 people, everybody would have a connection to each other because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think good attracts good, and I also think bad attracts bad.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's almost the birds of a feather. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So our sister Chris Norris Turpin said, agape love, girl. So you talking that Bible again. We know about that. Absolutely. So amen, sis. Amen. Well, listen, I want to take a moment, number one, to thank DeRay, you jumping on, sis. Pratt, brother, I don't know what to say, but I love, because I just talked to you right before this, and your camera was working, so I don't know what happened. But we would definitely have you back in for yet another check in with. But and as always, of course, my loved one, Charlie. But I just want to take a moment to say thank you for everyone that jumped on. Again, this is the check in with. This is our monthly Facebook chat that both my good friend Charlie Red and I do have. We don't want to just talk with each other because we do that all the time, obviously, but we also like to make it inclusive and add each one of you. This month specifically, we've been talking about what's important in a relationship, love, honesty, trust, and in no particular order. Obviously, we're all individuals and everyone has their own thoughts with respect to it. We do want to make sure that for those of you that come on and you read this information, or you view this pod, I should say, moving forward once it's long done, please continue to have the conversation because we will continue to interact with you. But again, I wanted to thank everyone that did jump on. I see some names on here I haven't seen since high school. Jomo Robinson, I'm like, wait, hold on, brother. Haven't seen you since Eisenhower. So glad that you jumped on. And I know that I see my sister Trebria also as well. Phil Flores, again, another Eisenhower brother. We love you very much. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and close because we've got about 5 minutes. DeRay, is there anything more you'd like to impart, my dear, on the topic? I know you said that Ray and your son are out mowing the grass, so please tell him that we appreciate you for allowing you to come on and join us today and talk with us. But is there anything you'd like to impart?
You probably can hear him in the background right now, but no, I just want to say that it's been such a blessing to see you two the last couple of months, and then even being able to jump on here and be able to have this conversation with you two. And I hope that we can connect in another way besides this wonderful Facebook Live that you guys have.
Thank you for that, my love. Blessings to you, to the family. We love y'all very much. Chuck, I'm going to actually give you the last word. Don't say, Tanya, what you just said. I literally want you to have the last word. Literally. And when you're done, then it's done.
Then I'll reiterate what I said before. It's all about, and others have said, it's all about choice. And B, again, if you want to be loved, prove yourself to be a loving person.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to trust, prove yourself to be a trusting person. If you want honesty, prove yourself to be an honest person.
Absolutely.
So tell
Absolutely.
Ray T I said what's up, man.
I will tell him.
Like I said, I mean, there are certain friendships, relationships. You know, Perry Amador popped on earlier too. There's certain friendships and relationships that are just natural. You don't have to. There's no effort.
Yes, no.
So like I said, when DeRay, when you jumped on, I didn't know if it was you or him because you guys are one. But there's just certain things that are just, they're not. You don't have to put effort into it. They're just natural. And again, I say they're natural because it's the people who you attract. And
Absolutely.
the people you attract are a reflection, hopefully, of who you are.
Absolutely. Birth of a feather. There's something to that. Absolutely. I see our brother Michael Simonson also, Eisenhower friend. Perry, this is perfect, and this will be the last thing. Commented, the pleasure is all of his. So, Brother Charlie, there he goes, he's acknowledging you. For the being of love is the being of God. Yeah. Love you all, brother. With that, this has been the check-in for the month of September. Before I go, I want to give a real quick shout out. Yesterday was my husband's birthday. Chuck, I might not talk to you. Next Saturday is my brother Charlie's birthday. Next Sunday is my birthday. Virgos are in the house. Just want to put that out there. So happy birthday in advance, brother. I love you to death. DeRay, thank you, my love, so much. We appreciate you. Everybody, thank you for joining us. This has been the check-in. Have a good day.